for it. Verse 14 of 2 Corinthians 6, do not be bound together with unbelievers, for what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness, or what harmony has Christ with Belial, or what has a believer in common with an unbeliever, or what agreement has the temple of God with idols? For we are the temple of the living God, just as God said, I will dwell in them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Therefore come out from their midst and be separate, says the Lord, and do not touch what is unclean, and I will welcome you, and I will be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says the Lord Almighty. Therefore, having these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. The summation statement is in chapter 7, verse 1. Everything that has been said leads to the therefore, so that we can understand that this kind of separation is a cleansing from defilement in terms of internal and outward defilement that leads us to a mature holiness in the fear of God. I think we are very much aware of the fact that there is a distinction between being a Christian and being a non-Christian. You understand that. I don't think much of evangelicalism understands that. I think the line between a true Christian and a false Christian is significantly blurred. Significantly blurred. Now, what's going on in Corinth is pretty clear to anybody who's studied the life of Paul. Paul isn't there. Poured a lot of his life into that place, almost 3 years. He realizes now that the worst of all situations has happened. False teachers have come there. They are, I think, demonically empowered false teachers. That's 2 Corinthians 12, where Paul says, there was a stake rammed through my flesh, and he says it is a messenger of Satan, a satanic angelos. Well, satanic angelos is a demon, and I think demons were part of the onslaught of the false teachers. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Didn't Paul say that false doctrine is demon doctrine? So demons were assaulting this church with their sort of quasi-Christian system of heresy that included compromise with paganism, compromise with false religion, and idolatry. So there could easily develop in these Gentile churches an eclectic, syncretistic blend of Christianity and paganism, intended to make Christians more palatable, intended to make them more popular, less distinct, less narrow, less offensive, less exclusive, less different, and then to make the acceptance of Christianity easily received. Nothing new, is there? Nothing new. Very much like the modern Christianity of today that seeks to blend Christianity with popular culture. The bottom line is in the first statement. Do not be bound together with unbelievers. Now, it is essential to understand what Paul is not saying, and this will be obvious to you. He is not saying don't ever talk to a non-believer. He's not saying don't take the gospel to non-believers. We've been told to take the gospel to the ends of the earth, right? We understand that. And if ever there was a man who did it, it was Paul. That's what he did. He was a minister of the gospel to the pagan world. He's not calling for complete isolation from unbelievers. He is calling for the church being an absolutely separate entity from anything that defines or describes the belief system or the behavior of the society, the culture. There can be no real fellowship, no real favor with God, no real blessing until you become separate from sinful, unholy alliances with ungodly idolaters. So there's only one truly grateful response. End of verse 1. Beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. And I know you know that verse. You probably have it memorized. You probably preached on it many times, but are you sure you've seen it connected to the prior passage? I hate that chapter 7 is stuck there. This is the kind of separation we're talking about. This is the kind of cleansing we're talking about. It's plural. Let us. Let us, as the church, cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit. Where is it coming from? It comes from the non-believers. This is not a sort of a simple personal thing. It's the pollution that arrives because of alliances we make. All sin is defiling, but the exhortation here focuses on a specific kind of defilement. And he chooses a word here, the word filthiness, malismos, only here and 3 times in the Septuagint. And it's always connected with religious defilement. Idolatrous feasts, prostitutes in idol temples, idol sacrifices, festivals. It's a religious word. It's about religious prostitution, about religious harlotry, about religious sacrifices and worship. So we're called to, that's the verb katharizo, which we get the English word cathartic, to cleanse ourselves from all these kinds of defiling alliances that come from these kinds of relationships. You say, well, boy, if we isolate ourselves like this, it's going to be really hard to reach the world. No, you can't reach the world anyway. God will do that. If we're obedient to do what He tells us to do, you'll enjoy the fullness of His blessing. Violate the command, you may be superficially successful on a human level, but you'll be without the full blessing of the Lord.